America, they like to party. The audience liked to party. Everybody liked to party, and there was a big party going and playing.
To this day, a lot of people that I meet think Little River Band was an American band.
Certain bands paved the way for others, and LRB certainly paved the way for us. You know, it was part of that Australian invasion, if you like.
So you're from Australia, and she asked me how long it took to drive there.
I didn't even really know where Australia was on the map. I was never great at geography until I got in this job. Now, you have to know it very, very well. But I think it brought an awareness to the minds of many.
Really, I mean, the 70s was the big opening of Australia. Peter Weir, George Miller in the film industry, Mad Max, Picnic at Hanging Rock, Gallipoli, Australian cinema bursting in the 70s, Australian music based in Australia bursting out of Australia. So LRB was at the vanguard of that.
So we were the first guys that went in and hit the road.
I knew, but when we got to the States, like you were saying, it went up a big notch, and I had a lot of work to do. I could see that.
In the early days, you dream of being on the road and playing every night and whatever. But then when it actually starts to happen, and you're in this, where are we? Where are we tomorrow? Where have we got to go? We got to get the plane. We got to get the bus. We got to find a Holiday Inn hotel or whatever. Where are we going? That is a huge undertaking. There's a lot more. Nobody quite knows what that's like until you actually have to do it.
But that first tour, it was hard to get used to it. And I found myself lonely a lot.
We had 2 station wagons and we would fly between cities because we were a support band.
But it was just such an incredible shock to the senses, to go into all that and to see what we'd seen on television, in real life, we were in towns that were really like the Dick Van Dyke Show, or we were in towns that were really like the Andy Griffith Show, and there were kids like Opie.
And our first gig was with the Average White Band, and they were a serious bloody band, I can tell you.
We actually got an encore from this audience that didn't even know who we were, but then during our last song, the power went out. And that had happened to us back in Australia many times where the generator doesn't work or something. And so the drummer just kept playing while they try and fixed it all. And we were just standing on stage, not phased. And then suddenly the power came back on. We finished the song and got a wonderful reception because the audience just really dug the fact that we just didn't cave in, that we were professional. But we were a great sounding live band because we'd done a lot of gigs in Australia, and we were, even though George and David had only been in the band 3 weeks, they were great musicians.
And the whole thing worked. And Glenn Shorrock, who I love dearly still, he was wonderful. I mean, what a masterful showman Glenn Shorrock is.
But it was tough because we were, away from home for 5 months. But we were so determined to crack it in the United States because our music was so much more suited to the American music market than it was to the English market.
And we were ready. And again, all for one for all. And we went out there and we smashed it.